I'm not very good at VALORANT, but I am a bit better at programming, and I've downloaded the data of over 40,000 matches so that I can analyse them to find out more about VALORANT. Let's start by talking about the rank distribution of the game. In this chart, I've taken every single match and figured out the average rank of all the players in that match, then I've added it to this graph. You can clearly see that most games are played in bronze and silver, with these two groups alone containing half of all of the matches. The median rank is mid to high silver 1, so you can use that information to either feel better or worse about how good you are at the game. I then wanted to look at each map. First of all, I wanted to find out which maps were actually attacker or defender sided, because there are lots of varying opinions on this. The most attacker sided map is Icebox, with the attackers having a 2.6% higher chance of winning each round than the defenders. On the other hand, the most defender-sided map is Ascent, where defenders have a 3.9% higher chance of winning each round than the attackers. Here are all of the maps ranked by how attacker-sided they are. Now let's take a look at each of the agents in the game in detail. For each agent, I've looked at 3 different things. First, I've looked at the agent's pick rate across all of the ranks. This number is what percentage of teams actually contain that agent. Secondly, I've seen how much each agent uses their abilities in each rank. Finally, I found out which pairings are best and worst for each character. I'm going to go through all the agents one by one in decreasing order of pick rate, so either use the YouTube chapters to skip through or go to these timestamps. Sage. Even after Skye was added to the game as a second healer, Sage is still the most played agent in the game by far, with a staggering 85% pick rate across all of the ranks. The ability that is most underused by players in lower ranks is her slow orb. Note that you're going to see Yoru a lot in these worse pairings. This is probably due to his low overall win rate, or maybe just him being difficult to play with. Jett. The next most picked agent is Jett, with a 71% pick rate that increases at higher ranks. All of her abilities aren't used as well in the lower ranks except for Updraft, which is actually used the most in Iron. Her knives are also one of the most used ultimates in the game. Reyna. Close behind is Reyna, with a 69% pick rate. Her pick rate is slightly lower at the highest ranks. Interestingly, her abilities see similar amounts of use in all of the ranks. This is most likely due to her being more aim dependent than ability dependent. Raze. Next is Raze at a 44% pick rate. She sees the most use in the lower ranks, but she still sees substantial play at the highest ratings. Her most underused ability in the lower ranks are her blast packs, which take a bit more skill to use. Omen. The next most played, and my personal favourite agent, is Omen, with a 38% pick rate. He sees increasing play at higher ranks, while his abilities that see the highest increase in use across ranks are his Paranoia and his Smokes. Surprisingly, his ult is actually used a similar amount of times across all ranks. He also doesn't pair well with Brimstone, as these two characters fill very similar roles. Sova. Sova sees a 36% pick rate across all the ranks. His Shock Dart sees much more use at higher ranks for obvious reasons like lineups or pros being better at geometry, but his Recon Drone appears to be heavily underused in the lower ranks. Killjoy. The next most played agent is Killjoy, with a 30% pick rate. Her pick rate slightly increases with rank. Her mollies, alarm bot and ultimate all see much less use in the lower ranks, although her ultimate is most powerful when used with some team coordination, which can be a bit more difficult in the lower ranks. She also doesn't pair well with Cypher, as they also fill similar roles. Both of these characters have similar tools to be able to shut down the site. Viper. Viper sees a mostly stable 24% pick rate across all ranks. All of her abilities aren't used as well in the lower ranks. Learning these will be a good way to improve your effectiveness on Viper. She also pairs well with Killjoy, because apparently having 2 people on your team that can stop a bomb defuse from the other side of the map equals wins. Phoenix. Phoenix comes in next with a 23% pick rate. He sees much less play in the higher ranks, with his pick rate almost halving. The 2 abilities of his that are the most underused in the lower ranks are his simplest, the Flash and Molly. He also has one of the most used ultimates in the game. Brimstone. Brimstone has a 20% pick rate. He actually sees the most play in the middle ranks with less play at the highest and lowest ranks. His most underused abilities at lower ranks are his Stim Beacon and Smokes, and as previously mentioned, he doesn't pair well with Omen. Cypher. Cypher has an 18% pick rate, with more use in the higher ranks. His Cyber Cages, Smokes, are his most underused ability in the lower ranks. They can be quite versatile on both attack and defense. His ultimate is used a similar amount of times across all ranks, which is unsurprising as it isn't exactly the most challenging ultimate to use. Skye. Skye has a 16% pick rate across all ranks, with her most underused abilities in the lower ranks being her flashes and her Tiger. Interestingly, her heal is used the least in Diamond Plus. One of her best pairings is with Sage. The double healers turn out to be quite effective. Her ultimate is also one of the most commonly used ultimates in the game. Yoru. Yoru has an 11% pick rate. He sees almost no play in the highest ranks and most of his plays in the lower ranks. All of his abilities, however, see much less use in the lower ranks. Yoru also has quite a low win rate, with his best pairing only having a 48% win rate. His Dimensional Drift is also one of the most used ultimates in the game. Breach. Breach has only a 9% pick rate. He, like Brimstone, is most picked in the middle ranks and sees less play in the lowest and highest ranks. His Flash and Tremor are his most underused abilities in the lower ranks. Finally, we have Astra. She is the least played agent in the game with a 5% pick rate. However, she sees increasing playtime in the higher ranks. All of her ranks actually use her ult a similar amount of times. However, lower rank players use her Gravity Well and Smokes much less than those in the best ranks, so learning to use these could be key to ranking up. KO. After much consideration, I decided not to include KO in this video. I think the play rate will be really inflated as everybody wants to be playing the new agent. The meta hasn't really settled down. If you guys like this video, I might do a part 2 with data from the newest patch once things calm down. In each round of each game I had, I was also able to find out where the bomb was planted. I divided the games up by rank, and I used the data to create maps like these. For example, on the Ascent A site, you can see that in Diamond Plus, players rarely plant on the left side of Generator, and instead prefer to plant directly in front of it, while planting on the left side of Generator is quite common in Iron, Bronze and Silver. Here are the plant locations for all of the maps. Finally, I decided to bring in some machine learning. In the match data, I was able to find the positions of all of the players directly after the bomb was planted. I then used an AI model that looks like this to predict which team will win the round. It takes in where the bomb was planted, where all of the players are, and what team they're on to do this. This is able to correctly predict which team will win 81% of the time, which is better than just seeing which team has more players alive and saying that that team is winning. It isn't perfect, it can make some questionable decisions on the win probability, but the AI doesn't even know what the map looks like, and had to sort of guess just by looking at many matches. You can try out this AI and look at all of the other stats on my website at the link in the description. All of this data can be used for so much more than what I've just covered in this video. If you want to see any other stats analysed, tell me in the comment section below. Check out the website at the link in the description, and thank you for watching.